You have been lied to your entire life about what financial stability actually looks like, not by accident, not by coincidence, but by design. Because the system you live in profits enormously from your financial confusion, your impulse spending, your debt cycles, and your constant feeling that no matter how hard you work, you just cannot seem to get ahead. And today, I am going to dismantle that entire illusion because the people who are genuinely, quietly, consistently wealthy are not doing what you think they are doing. They are not tracking 50 different budget categories. They are not obsessing over every single receipt. They are not following complicated investment formulas or reading dense financial textbooks. They are following a small set of brutally simple rules, minimalist money rules. And once you understand these rules and actually apply them, everything changes. So stay with me through this entire video, because the rule I shared near the end of this list is the one that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the single most important shift you ever make in your relationship with money. Let us start by addressing something that most financial advice completely ignores. Complexity is the enemy of consistency. Think about the last time you tried to follow an elaborate budget. You had categories, subcategories, tracking apps, spreadsheets, color coding, and for about 3 days, maybe a week if you were really motivated, it worked. Then life happened. An unexpected expense showed up. You forgot to log something. The whole system fell apart and you felt guilty and gave up entirely. This is not a willpower problem. This is a design problem. The system was too complicated to survive contact with reality. Minimalism in finance is not about being cheap. It is not about depriving yourself or living like you are in some kind of self-imposed poverty. It is about stripping away the noise so that the signal becomes crystal clear. It is about designing your financial life to be so simple that it almost runs itself. And that simplicity is exactly what creates stability, not just for a month, but for years and decades. Rule number 1. Spend less than you earn, always, without exception, no matter what. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that sounds obvious, almost insultingly simple. But here is what is fascinating. The majority of people in modern economies are not doing this, not even close. Consumer debt levels are staggering. People are financing vacations, furniture, clothing, and even groceries on credit cards and buy now, pay later platforms. The gap between income and spending has been completely blurred by the easy availability of credit. So rule number 1 is not obvious at all. It is radical. It means living below your means, even when you get a raise. It means when your income goes up, your lifestyle does not automatically inflate to match it. This single concept called lifestyle deflation, or avoiding lifestyle creep, is one of the most powerful financial moves you can ever make. Every time your income increases and your expenses stay flat, you have just created more breathing room, more margin, more optionality in your life. That margin is not a boring accounting term. That margin is freedom. It is the ability to say no to a job you hate. It is the ability to handle an emergency without panic. It is the ability to take an opportunity when it shows up because you are not living right on the edge of what you make. Rule number 2, save before you think, not after. Most people approach saving completely backwards. They spend throughout the month and then save whatever is left over at the end. The result is almost always zero, because money that is visible and available gets spent. This is just how human psychology works. We are not wired for delayed gratification by default. We need systems that make the right behavior automatic and the wrong behavior inconvenient. The solution is brutally simple. Automate your savings to leave your account the moment your paycheck arrives, before you see it, before you touch it, before you even know it was there. When saving becomes automatic, it stops being a decision. It stops requiring discipline or motivation. It just happens. And here's something really important to understand. The percentage you save matters more than the amount.
If you're earning $30,000 a year and saving 10%, you're building better habits and better financial resilience than someone earning $100,000 and saving nothing. Start wherever you are, even if it's 2% or 5%, then gradually increase that rate over time. The habit matters more than the number in the early stages. The number grows as your income and discipline grow.
Rule number 3, eliminate debt like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. Debt is one of the most insidious forces in modern life. It is marketed to you as empowerment, 0% financing, build your credit, buy now and enjoy now. But what debt actually does is it steals from your future self to fund your present self, and your future self does not get a vote in that transaction. High-interest debt, the kind that comes with credit cards and certain personal loans, is mathematically devastating. When you are paying 15, 20, 25% interest on a balance, you are essentially running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. The minimalist approach to debt is decisive and aggressive. You identify what you owe, you rank your debts, and you attack them with everything you have, while making minimum payments on the rest. There are two popular methods here. The avalanche method targets the highest interest rate debt first, which is mathematically optimal. The snowball method targets the smallest balance first, which gives you psychological wins that keep you motivated. Use whichever one you will actually stick with, because the best debt payoff strategy is the one you complete. Once you are debt-free, the money that was going to interest payments suddenly becomes yours, fully yours, to save, invest, or build the life you actually want. Now, here is where the value of this conversation starts compounding, because these first 3 rules are foundational, but what comes next is where most people have their biggest blind spots. Rule number 4, own your needs, question your wants, and eliminate your should-haves entirely. Here is a distinction that can completely rewire the way you make financial decisions. There are 3 categories of spending: needs, which are things that genuinely sustain your life and functioning; wants, which are things that add pleasure, comfort, or enjoyment to your life; and then there's this third category that nobody talks about enough, which I am going to call should-haves. These are the things you spend money on not because you need them, and not really because you want them, but because you feel like you should have them, based on your social circle, your job title, your age, or some imaginary standard you have absorbed from culture and media. The house in the neighborhood that matches your income level.
The car that signals professional success. The wardrobe that communicates that you have arrived. The vacations that perform well on social media. These should-haves are financial black holes. They cost enormous amounts of money and deliver very little genuine satisfaction because they are not rooted in what you actually value. They are rooted in what you think others will think of you. The minimalist money rule here is to get brutally honest with yourself about why you are spending money on the things you spend money on. Needs get funded automatically. Genuine wants that align with what you truly value can be budgeted for intentionally. But should-haves get cut, not with guilt, but with clarity. Rule number 5, build your emergency fund like it is a non-negotiable foundation. An emergency fund is not a savings account. It is a financial firewall. It is the thing that stands between you and catastrophic financial decisions when life does what life inevitably does. The car breaks down, medical bill arrives, the job disappears unexpectedly. Without an emergency fund, any one of these events forces you to make terrible choices. You go into debt, you drain retirement accounts, you make decisions from panic instead of from strategy. The conventional guidance around emergency funds typically suggests 3 to 6 months of living expenses, though some people prefer more depending on their job security and personal comfort level. The minimalist principle here is straightforward. Get this fund fully funded and then leave it completely alone. It is not an investment account. It is not something you touch when you see a sale. It is a separate, untouchable account that exists purely to absorb life's inevitable shocks without destroying your financial progress. When you have this cushion, something genuinely transformative happens to your psychology around money. You stop making financial decisions from a place of fear and scarcity. You start making them from a place of stability and choice. That shift alone changes everything. Rule number 6. Understand the true cost of things, not just the price tag. This rule sounds simple, but it is one of the most underused concepts in personal finance. The true cost of anything is not what you pay at the point of purchase. It is the total impact of that purchase on your financial life, including opportunity cost. Here's a simple example. You buy a coffee every single morning for $5. That feels totally insignificant.
But $5 a day is roughly $150 a month. Over a year, that is $1,800. If you had invested that $1,800 every year for 30 years with a reasonable rate of return, you would be looking at a genuinely significant sum. Now, I am not here to tell you to never buy coffee. If your morning coffee is something you genuinely value and it brings you real joy, keep buying it. The minimalist money rule is not about eliminating all spending. It is about making spending decisions with full awareness of their true cost. When you understand the real price of your choices, not just the surface price, you make fundamentally different decisions. Small, recurring expenses that you barely notice deserve particular scrutiny. Subscriptions you forgot you had, services that auto-renew, memberships you never use. These small drains add up to enormous amounts over time, and they deliver nothing in return. Here is something I want you to sit with for a moment. The reason financial stability feels impossible for so many people is not income. Yes, income matters. Yes, there are systemic factors and genuine barriers that affect different people in different ways. But for a significant portion of people who struggle with money, the core issue is not that they do not earn enough, it is that they do not control what they have. And control comes from simplicity, not sophistication. Rule number 7. Invest consistently, not perfectly. One of the biggest reasons people never build real wealth is that they wait. They wait for the perfect time to invest. They wait until the market is in the right place. They wait until they understand everything. They wait until they have enough to make it feel meaningful. And while they wait, time passes. And time is the single most valuable ingredient in building wealth. The minimalist investment philosophy is this. Invest regularly in simple, low-cost, diversified vehicles, and then leave it alone. You do not need to pick individual stocks. You do not need to understand complex derivatives or trading strategies. Index funds that track the broad market give most people everything they need at a fraction of the cost of actively managed alternatives. The key principle is consistency. Investing a fixed amount every month, regardless of what the market is doing, is a strategy called dollar-cost averaging. When markets are down, your fixed investment buys more units. When markets are up, your investments are growing. Over long periods of time, this approach consistently builds wealth for people who stick with it. Perfection is the enemy of progress in investing. Consistent, boring, automatic contributions will outperform sporadic, excited, perfectly timed attempts almost every single time. Rule number 8. Say no to financial noise. We live in an era of absolutely overwhelming financial information. Every day there is a new hot stock tip, a new cryptocurrency revolution, a new guaranteed system for passive income, a new expert telling you that everything you thought you knew was wrong. And this noise is not just annoying, it is genuinely dangerous because it creates anxiety, confusion, and paralysis. It causes people to abandon solid, long-term strategies for exciting, short-term gambles. It generates unnecessary complexity in financial lives that should be simple.
The minimalist money rule here is to ruthlessly curate your financial information diet. Find one or two genuinely reliable sources of financial education, learn the fundamentals, then stop consuming more and more financial content as a substitute for actually implementing what you already know. There's a concept called analysis paralysis, and it is absolutely rampant in personal finance. People who spend hours every week reading about money management while doing nothing to implement better habits are not building wealth, they're building anxiety. Simple, implemented knowledge beats complex, unimplemented knowledge every single time. Rule number 9. Align your spending with your actual values, not with social expectations. This rule goes deeper than budgeting. It is almost philosophical, but it is also intensely practical. When your spending is aligned with what you genuinely value, you feel satisfied and in control. When your spending is driven by external pressure, social comparison, or unconscious habit, you feel drained and resentful, and you never feel like you have enough. To apply this rule, you need to do something most people never actually do. Sit down and get specific about what you genuinely value, not what you think you should value, not what sounds virtuous or impressive, what actually makes your life feel rich and meaningful to you. For some people, that is travel and experiences. For others, it is time with family or creative pursuits or health and fitness or a specific hobby. Whatever it is, spend money there without guilt. But then take an equally honest look at where else your money is going and ask yourself if those categories genuinely reflect your values or if they are just noise. Most people discover significant amounts of money leaking into areas that bring them almost no real satisfaction. Cutting those areas is not deprivation, it is editing. It is creating more space for the things that actually matter to you. Rule number 10. Protect what you build. You can do everything right in terms of earning, saving, investing, and spending wisely. And then one catastrophic event can erase years of progress if you have not protected yourself properly. This is why insurance is a non-negotiable part of any serious financial strategy. Health insurance, because medical costs without coverage can be financially ruinous. Adequate life insurance if people depend on your income, disability insurance, which most people dramatically underestimate the importance of because your ability to earn income is your single most valuable financial asset, renters or homeowners insurance to protect your physical possessions and your living situation. The minimalist approach to insurance is not about buying the most coverage you can find. It is about identifying your actual risk exposures and making sure the catastrophic ones are covered. The risks that could completely derail your financial life deserve coverage, even if it costs money. Small, manageable risks that would be annoying but not devastating can often be self-insured through your emergency fund. Think about insurance not as an expense, but as a boundary that keeps your financial progress safe from the worst-case scenarios. Let us pause here for a second and recognize something important. Every single rule in this video is simple. Not easy, because behavior change is never purely easy, but simple, unambiguous, actionable. And that is intentional, because the reason most financial advice fails people is not because it lacks information, it is because it lacks simplicity. When a system is simple enough to understand completely and simple enough to implement without a finance degree, it actually gets done. And things that get done produce results. Things that are too complicated to implement consistently produce nothing but stress. Rule number 11. Use credit as a tool, never as a lifestyle. Credit cards specifically get a lot of negative press in personal finance conversations, and for some people that negativity is completely warranted. If you cannot control your spending, credit cards are like giving a match to someone standing in a puddle of gasoline. But credit itself, used correctly, is actually a powerful tool. Used correctly means paying your balance in full every single month without exception. It means earning rewards and cash back on spending you would have made anyway. It means building a credit history that gives you access to better rates when you need a mortgage or business financing. The line between using credit correctly and being used by credit comes down to one simple question. Are you spending money you have or money you do not have? If you are charging things you could pay for in cash and then paying the full balance when it is due, you are using credit as a tool. If you are carrying balances, paying interest, using credit to fund a lifestyle your income cannot actually support, credit is using you. The minimalist rule is to keep this brutally simple. Charge what you have, pay what you owe, repeat. Rule number 12. Automate everything that matters. You have heard this theme throughout this video, and I'm going to come back to it one final time because it deserves its own standalone moment. The single greatest upgrade you can make to your financial life is to systematically remove human decision-making from the most important financial behaviors. This is not because you are untrustworthy or irresponsible. It is because human beings are wired for the present moment. We are wired to feel the immediate satisfaction of spending and to underweight the future rewards of saving and investing. The solution is to design a financial system that does not rely on you making perfect decisions at every moment. Savings, automatic. Investment contributions, automatic. Bill payments, automatic. Even transfers to specific savings goals, automatic. When the right behaviors happen automatically, they happen consistently. And consistency compounded over time is exactly what builds financial stability and wealth. When everything critical is on autopilot, the day-to-day financial decisions you actually have to make consciously become much smaller and lower stakes. You have already handled the big stuff before you ever had to think about it. Now we have arrived at the rule I promised you at the beginning, the one that almost nobody talks about, the one that might be the single most important shift you make. Rule number 13, change your relationship with money at the identity level. Every rule in this video is practical and actionable, but here is the uncomfortable truth. You can know all of these rules intellectually and still not apply them, because applying them consistently requires that they be aligned with how you see yourself. Your financial behaviors are expressions of your identity. The way you handle money reflects what you believe, deep down, about yourself, and about what you deserve, and about what is possible for you. If you grew up in an environment where money was always scarce and stressful, you may carry a scarcity identity that manifests as either anxious hoarding or desperate overspending. If you grew up watching adults around you consistently overspend and carry debt, that pattern feels normal to you at a subconscious level, even if consciously you want something different. This is why some people win the lottery and are broke again within a few years, and why some people who grow up with very little go on to build genuine financial stability. The external circumstances matter, but the internal identity matters just as much. The shift here is to consciously begin thinking of yourself as someone who is financially responsible, not as a goal you are working toward, but as something that is true of you right now, even if imperfectly. You are someone who spends intentionally. You are someone who saves consistently. You are someone who makes thoughtful financial decisions. When you act in alignment with that identity, even in small ways, you reinforce it. And over time, that identity becomes the foundation everything else is built on. Let me bring this all together now, because I want you to leave this video not just informed, but genuinely equipped to do something different starting today. The minimalist money rules are not a complicated system. They are a philosophy. And the philosophy is this: less complexity means more consistency. More consistency means more progress. More progress over time means financial stability that does not require you to be perfect, just disciplined enough to keep showing up.
You spend less than you earn without exception. You save automatically before you can spend. You eliminate debt aggressively and stay out of it. You distinguish between genuine needs, authentic wants, and social should-haves. You build and protect your emergency fund. You understand the true cost of your financial choices, not just the price tags. You invest consistently in simple vehicles and do not try to time anything. You filter out financial noise and stop consuming more information than you implement. You align your spending tightly with your actual values. You protect your financial progress with appropriate insurance coverage. You use credit as a strategic tool, never as a lifestyle supplement. You automate every critical financial behavior, so consistency does not depend on daily willpower. And you do the deeper work of shifting how you see yourself in relation to money. None of these rules require a high income. None of them require a finance degree. None of them require perfect information or perfect timing. They require intention. They require consistency. They require the willingness to embrace simplicity in a world that profits from your financial complexity. Here is the final thing I want to leave you with. Financial stability is not a destination you eventually arrive at after years of suffering and sacrifice. It is a daily practice of small, intentional choices that accumulate into something genuinely powerful over time. The gap between where you are right now and where you want to be financially is not as large as it feels. It mostly comes down to a handful of simple behaviors repeated consistently with clear intention. And you are more than capable of doing exactly that. If this video gave you even one idea that you are going to act on today, do me a favor and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because financial stress is one of the most pervasive and damaging forces in people's lives. And this kind of simple, clear thinking is exactly what most people are missing. Drop in the comments which rule landed hardest for you. I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know which one hit differently. And if you want more content like this that cuts through the noise and gives you the real stuff without the complexity, make sure you are subscribed because we have a lot more coming that you do not want to miss.